Well, it gets hard to ignore science after this long, particularly when the evidence that's being used is so clear and consistent. We're seeing a lot of the South really facing battles here against the virus, and we're also seeing the Trump supporters going a bit obnoxiously crazy, going into Targets and Walmarts, destroying displays, having antics in Costco's, going to city council meetings and saying that masks are a form of slavery and are oppressive. And so these anti-maskers are really starting to make Trump look bad. And I think Donald Trump doesn't do well with looking bad and finds ways to use that to his advantage. So turning the tide a bit on masks is a way to maybe get ahead of the deaths that are certainly coming due to the increase of the virus across particularly the South, and to try to get ahead of some of the bad publicity of some of his supporters who are running amok in the public.
And you mentioned that violence there. Of course, that's also come after the Black Lives Matter protests as well. And the president is now characterising himself as a law and order president. Who's he appealing to with this get tough on crime rhetoric?
Well, he's not the first politician to use kind of an anti-urban narrative to get votes. There's a long time, a long-standing idea that the countryside, the rural areas of the country, the heartland, is where presidents should be speaking to, and that's where American roots are. And the cities, on the other hand, are dangerous places, maybe of the future, but are moving us away from our past and our roots. And so the narrative has been used a long time. The fear of the city, as you were. And so this does speak to a good number of the base who don't want their kids going off to college into the cities, who don't want the badness of the cities moving out into the suburbs and into the rural areas. But what we're also seeing is some very shocking imagery and shocking use of military force. The same sort of people who are going out in militia for the United States in Central and South America, for instance, carrying on through Halliburton and Blackwater and other private military mercenary groups that the United States has used in the past in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places. Those same tendencies, those types of approaches are being used on American soil against American citizens.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, that's obviously in response to the Black Lives Matter movement and those demonstrations. Do you think he is going to use race as an issue in the forthcoming election?
Well, he used race as an issue in his campaign, all the way through his campaign and certainly all the way through his presidency. Absolutely, he's used race as a way to bait people into voting for him. We have a contender, Joe Biden, who from the other party, who isn't saying anything, who isn't creating much of a fuss. Is keeping it quiet. Maybe that's a good strategy to try and get people who want a less dramatic presidency. But the campaign shapes the presidency. And so if Joe Biden thinks that he's going to be able to have a quiet, calm, peaceful, chilled presidency, that's what he's setting himself up for with this candidacy. And that's not much of a mover and shaker presidency that we're seeing out of Joe Biden. So people, even though this isn't a usual election, have to ask their questions. Do they want Donald Trump, who's done things that for a portion of America, white America has been good, bad for others? Or do they want, a Joe Biden who doesn't seem to be pushing much of any agenda?
Yep, and
that may help him get to the White House, but what will that mean for his stay there?
And Robert, just in terms of those issues that are likely to determine the election. Now, this evening we've been reporting on Houston, the Chinese consulate in Houston, which has been ordered to close. Do you think that Donald Trump is likely to use tensions with China to his political advantage?
Well, certainly. I mean that's been the case through his campaign for the first time, and his time in the White House so far. He even has a way of saying China. The way that he says it has become a staple of his presidency, and his disdain for the Chinese government and its people. But it's also it's one of those things he flips back and forth on as well. If things look good with China and he gets a good deal, then China's a great partner. But if China seems to have the better end of the stick, innovation in telecommunications, for instance, then it's something that he doesn't want to be in bed with. And so Donald Trump will flip-flop to where he needs to go to get the votes in November. But if people continue to fall ill, fall sick, this election is going to be unlike one we've ever seen before, just in terms of getting people to vote, getting them to go out into the polls in a safe way, and also be able to make rational decisions either way they vote.
Associate Professor Robert Gutsche, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.